This week on the show, we're joined by Gerhard, a financial planner with Barnum Financial Group who focuses on equity compensation for employees, mainly in the pharmaceutical world. He's here to share his experience in that field and his career in the financial service industry. I'm Paul Blanco, and this is Small Steps, Big Wins. All right, Gerhard, welcome to Small Steps, Big Wins. So happy to have you on here. Watching your career has been a great joy from the outside looking in and seeing you just develop and grow to the advisor you are today. I'm so excited for you to share that with everybody out here today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Paul.
You got it. So why don't you just kind of give me, I remember you had some other goals and visions when you were coming out of school of what you were thinking of doing. And then you started out in a different field in financial services, but then you made a quick change to come into and become an advisor. Tell me what was going through your mind back then and what were you thinking?
2008 is what brought me here because you're right. I was somewhere else after school. Yeah, I really thought I was going to stay more institutional hedge fund side of the world, right? When I graduated, that was the sexy thing to go do.
Yeah.
Part of me, maybe some independence. Let me go, blaze my own trail.
Yeah.
2008 comes, I'm out of a job by March. Dad said you can't stay home if you don't have a job. And having a brother here kind of helped the glide path to get here.
Yeah. Was it very dramatic when 08 hit in that other industry?
Oh my gosh.
And it just changed that rapidly?
To not know if the doors are locked or unlocked going. It was a different environment. It was fast paced. It was very demanding, way more demanding than I think early on in this career was. You're pulled in 1,000 different directions. And again, there's no independence, right? And I didn't fit well in the sit behind a desk, look at numbers, moving papers around. It just wasn't for me.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point. There was a couple of shows ago that I talked about being in probably 5 of the worst 8 or 9 days in the industry. I've been in the industry for that and seeing that volatility. It's really helped advisors in our industry grow.
Sure.
And it's very interesting that you're in the same industry, but things change so rapidly and do that. So were you attracted to, when you said independence a few times, were you attracted to being a financial advisor and a business owner? Or were you really solely attracted to the advisor and the analytical side? Because I know you have a background like that.
Definitely the latter. Here we are 18 years later, and I still think I just want to live on the planner side and not be the business owner, hence why I'm, with the guys I'm with today. But no, initially it was I want to be the planner, the analytical part of it. I always knew that's where I wanted to spend some time, not so much on, building the business as much as, being an integral part of it. Yeah. But letting some other guys, play the vision role.
Well, it's interesting. You bring up a really good point. I've been thinking a lot about if you look at our business as, your team is a small business in a bigger business, but many advisors, I feel, don't realize that this is an entrepreneurial path.
Right.
But to what you said, I think there's a lot of people that want to come in as a planner. And if they thought it was a business owner environment only, they might run away from realizing that there's a great opportunity there.
Yep.
And so what you basically did was you said to yourself, I think this is the mindset that you just shared, that I want to go partner up with a team that does a lot of the things that I can use and plug into those things. So I could really stick and do what I really love. Was that kind of the thought process?
100%. Don't forget too, the journey along the way for me was, informal group of mentors around me early on, which, 17 years ago, I had some great ones around me when I first started, to then some solo, production, back to a team. And I think I learned a lot about what I wanted in that first engagement of a team, because you kind of figure out, okay, what's my skill set? What's not my skill set? And coming out of for lack of a better word, bad marriage of teaming back to solo production, I knew what I wanted when it presented itself for the next inevitable team route. Right.
Yeah.
And what you said is 100% right. I knew what I needed to plug into. I knew what I needed I knew what I needed to not be doing to be in my green zone all the time.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And if you think about, I always try to compare advisors to corporate athletes. Yeah. And if you think of the world of sports, it's become so specialized. Right. And if you think of our business, it's become that because it's very hard to scale by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need the plug and play and you need the technology and all that good stuff, but it's okay to, the NBA playoffs, as far as I'm concerned, have ended since the Knicks are out. Right. But I'm a bitter Knicks fan at this point for maybe 30 years. Right. But when I think about the NBA, you don't take a great point guard and say, hey, we need you to go grab rebounds.
Right.
You just get someone that can get the rebounds around them. Yeah. And that's pretty much what you did.
100%.
So when you fast forward to today, and you guys are a great team that do a lot of brainstorming and a lot of strategic stuff together. Besides sitting in those and being a thought leader there, for the most part, are you in your green zone?
Yes.
All the time?
100%. You remember when the last stint of solo production for me, I needed the guys I'm with now selfishly because there were certain things I couldn't do on my own. And there's certain things I just was informally plugging into. So you call maybe 18 months or so of that relationship with them. I learned, these are a great group of guys. We're all like-minded on where we're trying to go. Even on the informal part of working with all the guys, I never was worried about is someone's hand in the cookie jar that shouldn't be, is comp not fair. It felt at home.
Yeah. So the culture was a great fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every aspect.
Yeah. And, having, being friends with all of them prior also helped. Yeah. I think, but even for me though, I matured a lot from the last team engagement that I was in at the time. And I had a lot going on first time around, right? First kid comes, moving to a new house. There's a lot of distractions, but I learned a lot going into working with the guys now. What do I want in a team? What do I want in partners? And it's been fantastic to work with these guys for the couple of years it's been so far.
Yeah. I love hearing that. And, you're right. I think that's the big thing about being a business owner is you learn what you like, what you don't like. You learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And if you can figure out those things early on, because I would say, you're at the early part of your career still, it gives you so much strength to not being using Colby terminology, being a cognitive stressed all day, doing something you hate doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you use the statement, I love the green zone that you used, what does a day look like that you feel like you leave, you get here in the morning and then you leave at night and you get in the car to go home and you say, man, if I can just do that every single day, not only will I impact so many client lives, my family be impacted and my team will. What does that day look like?
Yeah, I mean, if I can replicate my top 20 clients, we'd all be happy. But I am in a unique position that I prospect and fish in a pond where I can replicate the ideal client over and over again. So green zone for me would be, I get out and in the office early, but that's after, kids up, help with breakfast, getting them going. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's important to me that at least 3 days a week I'm at that bus stop.
Nice.
So then in the in-between part, it's, did I have 5 or 6 really good conversations with new people, likely referred in, which is great, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a second, what's unique about my clients, and just having basic regular conversations with existing clients. There's a lot going on in the world now, but to get on the phone just to say, hey, I'm here if you need something. Do you want to talk through anything? Talk through some decisions. So if I can open and close the day and fill in the middle like that's green zone for me.
Well, it's great. And I really appreciate what you just shared because, we think about, I used the Vince Lombardi line, right? They said, how do you create such great football players? And he said, I create great men. Right. And they become great football players. So you're not just talking, you're talking about, family, financial, mental. Right. And I think that's really amazing because some people might have said the green zone is seeing those 5 clients and digging in and so much results, but you really, really mastered what you want your green zone to be. I love that.
I mean, I think the last 5 years alone, making a conscious decision to do what I do from a prospecting standpoint and the type of advice I give, it's eliminated stress on a day-to-day basis huge. I'm not jumping in and out of varying conversations. Yeah. It's the same type of person that's looking for my help. Yeah. It's the same type of conversation. And just being an expert in it makes me feel more comfortable with the dialogue, more confident with it. That's been a huge help for me.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So, you've really become an expert in equity compensation for executives, predominantly in the pharmaceutical space. Correct. And was this something that, you woke up one morning and said, this is going to be my target market, or did you find yourself in front of those people and had to gain the skill set?
Right. Yeah.
What was it?
The latter for sure.
Yeah.
And having to very quickly learn, like on the fly, and in the moment of what's a stock option and how does it work? But what I realized, fairly quickly in it is, gosh, there's everything we as advisors are looking for in this marketplace, right? People that they want and need the advice.
Yep.
So it's not the conversation of you should hire me.
Correct.
It's they're already looking for it.
Yep.
The complexity is there. And that's what, also talk about green zone. It's exciting. It's not boring work.
Yeah. It's not cookie cutter.
Right. It's so different. Everyone's so different. I have option type A, B, whatever they are. It's just, it's different all the time, which is real helpful. And a typical person that's compensated this way, it's that ideal profile that we'd be looking for, right? Big decisions to make, assets in motion. That was what I learned early on. Wow, I love this.
Yep.
So then I dedicated that I'm going to be a student of this. Independent reading, researching. I have a great relationship with a CPA who helped me early on. Hey, Eric, this is how this works. This is what you need to know. And we have a great relationship, him and I, now for, referring back and forth. And he also knows what I'm looking for in a referral.
And the ideal client.
Yeah. And it's again, people compensated this way. It was funny because I think where it really took off for me was COVID. Okay. And here's the reason why. Everybody who was remote, nobody knew what was going on. Markets doing everything. Certain pharmaceutical stocks were through the roof because we're trying to figure out a COVID vaccine or therapy, right? But I started to see clients of mine leaving one specific pharmaceutical company because remote work was now the thing, and branched out to some other major companies. So now you fast forward to 2025 and I have clients in some of the major pharmaceutical companies, not just here in the Northeast, but across the country.
Well, it's interesting you say that. We always say that we got a national reach,
right?
But so did the employee.
So yeah.
So you have employees that are working all over the country.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to move, and that was an industry that moved quickly to hybrid, and they haven't really changed that much.
No.
Where a lot have went back, they have not.
Yeah, correct. And I think the unique thing about it is, I'm not where all of these, a lot of my clients and the teaching I was doing was coming from one place as people spread out. Now it's, I got a longstanding client that's now at another pharmaceutical company saying, you got to talk to Eric. He's an expert with this stuff.
Yeah. So your network just got way bigger
by default, not so much by design. And it's been great.
Wow. I want to go backwards for a second. When you said, oh my God, I remember it's so simple compared to what you're talking about, but I remember someone asked the doctor wanted DI, and I didn't know DI that well. And I remember instead of taking someone out, I went back like 5 times to learn and, learned it, but the hard way. But this is way different when you're thinking of what you're dealing with. From that minute, when did you get to, because you never 100% know everything.
Still
but when did you, because it keeps changing and evolving.
Yeah.
But when did you get to the point where you said, was it 2 months or 18 months for you to say, I know I'm an expert now and there's not much that could get thrown at me that I can't handle?
I would probably say 36 months in.
It took you.
Yeah. Because it is so complex.
Yeah.
And, I can meet with 3 people and their own personal financial situation makes the advice different.
Sure. Because you're dealing with both things. Not only you're dealing with what they're getting.
Correct.
But what they already have.
Right. And transaction A is going to impact transaction B in the same household, right? So I would say a good 36 months where I felt, okay, I'm not going to run into a question that I haven't seen or haven't come across. And now here in 2025, yeah, I would tell you, I'm definitely a black belt in it for sure. I joke with the guys on the team when they run into stock options questions with their clients. Listen, I got the Jedi sense with it now. I'm comfortable with it. They come bounce questions off me. So do other people in the place when they run into it. It's just, hey, Eric got a quick question. So I would tell you 36 months where I felt, okay, I can sit across from someone, show that I am an expert in it. I'm sharp. I'm not going to get tripped up with a question. And even more so, as that client's looking for a relationship with someone, and if I am in competition with onboarding a new client, I'll arm the prospective client with questions. Hey, if you're going to meet with, ABC firm, ask these questions. Yeah. Hey, how many of your clients that you work with are compensated the way I am? Yeah. How often do you run into this stuff? You used the doctor example before. I got a heart problem going to a cardiologist, not my general practitioner. Correct. And I really wanted to build this thing that way. Even here with the marketing team, 100% of my content and how I brand myself is in this space.
Yeah, no, I got it. And what's interesting though, is for all the listeners here, I think this is something that's really important. If this is a path or anything like this is your path, Eric, you were already a savvy planner.
Right.
So if you think about what you said, unless you have a team where there's a planner that you're working with and you're only doing this, you have to be a savvy planner to know how this works in the process of the real planning.
Right. Right. And, one of the things that was important to me when, teaming up with the guys now is making sure they understood, hey guys, this is the lane I'm going to run in. So within the team, this is going to be my specialty. And that means there's going to be ebbs and flows in it. I'm lucky enough now, of the 17 years now, probably 13 of them, 14 of them have been in this space. Call it the last 7 of them, 100% in this space, but making sure the guys know, hey, if I'm working in company A and the stock's struggling, not cooperating, going flat, I may not be as busy when there's something going on, right? Where stock price is moving at one of these companies dramatically, where then I start to get busier. And unlike team experience in the past, these guys embraced it. They know it was a unique skill set. They knew that I wanted to brand myself this way, and they got behind me with it 100%.
Yeah. And that's huge. It's huge in so many ways, not only mentally, but for you to stay in your lane, in your green zone.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I was thinking. One of the things that really changed 20 years ago in our business was, recurring revenue became really big. Right. But maybe I'm wrong on this, but help me on this. If someone has a position and they're having a lot of options and equity compensation, most of that doesn't get unwound in 1 year.
Correct.
So it's almost like future recurring revenue is coming, and it could be 3 to 5 years, right? That you're dealing with a plan.
And I think what I knew 10 years ago, because this is 2025 is actually a big year for a lot of my clients. I knew 10 years ago that I identified a group of clients that didn't have too much going on early on. But when you take a look at how these vesting schedules worked, I can look and say, well, geez, 5 years from now, Paul's going to be an A client for me.
Yeah.
10 years from now, Paul's going to be an A client for me. So I had the understanding of how this worked and looked into the future at future dollars and future revenue, and wasn't short-sighted at the dollar at the moment, and corralled what are now some of my best clients that I consider friends, that today are the greatest referral source for me, because I was there when it wasn't complex for them and it wasn't large financial decisions, to each year.
Yep.
This is now happening.
Yeah, you grew with them.
Yeah. So I can comfortably say, all right, okay, how many new clients you want to bring on every year versus the clients you already have and the financial milestones they're going to have because they're compensated this way. And let me just give them the best service I possibly can, best advice, be there both as their planner and as a friend, and it's going to organically grow that way. And that back to the green zone. I don't feel like I have to necessarily say, well, I got to bring in 50 new clients this year.
Yeah.
I can look at what I have and say, man, I can grow it just from what's here.
Well, listen, I mean, lifetime value of a client is, some people just don't want to realize that if you bring them on early on, like I learned the stat when I first started, which gave me great strength, was they said people buy life insurance 7 times in a lifetime.
Right.
Still true today. Mm-hmm. So when I made that first sale, even though may it be just a term, I was like, if I service them properly, I got 6 more.
Yeah.
And if you think about the young professional, and if you just have if I'm looking at like a line from 38 to, 78, think about all the milestones in their life that are going to happen as a family, and then in their own business. But you have buckets of stuff that comes due too.
Correct.
That it's truly, if you manage that right and track it right, there's so much opportunity there.
Talk about it all the time in various industries, and here too, is just having the data, right? I mean, I have endless data on events that are going to occur for clients, and even people I've talked to that, and maybe at the time it didn't make sense to build a relationship with, but I know what's going to happen and when. Yeah. And I think me running it this way, something you said a few moments ago about balance, this is what allows me to have the balance I'm looking for between work and outside of work.
Yeah.
It allows me to maybe max out a little more on the family side balance right now. This is what allows me to but
that all goes in stages in life too, just like business. So what are some of the major things that, if I was an advisor out there today, I know we're running into so many clients that look like this. What are some of the things that they should be looking for that they see that then they say, hey, I should just call Eric up and Eric can help me on this?
I mean, I think it's as simple as the minute you find out they have stock options and you're not comfortable with it, because making the mistakes myself early on, you asked how long did it take you to feel comfortable with this? I had to make some mistakes.
36 months.
I had to make some mistakes. And those mistakes were not understanding it well enough, where the advice could result in a really bad financial and tax move. So I think it's, if you're running into it and you really aren't comfortable with it, it's the immediate, I have to tag someone in for help, because all you need to do is do a good job for 1 or 2 of these people compensated this way, because especially within one company, it's all they talk about. And it's, well, to you. What did you do? Well, how did you know how to do that? Right. So I think it's the minute you see it, it's let me take a step back.
Well, a lot of these people, as you said, are considered affluent by what they're making. But many companies are giving them these options in lieu of some cash.
Correct.
So they have to understand how to maximize this, because it's not like they're getting the same cash comp down the street. And that's probably why some of them move around them.
100% correct. 100% correct.
So I think that's, you bring up a really great point there. They have to maximize those. I know what you said a minute ago is interesting. I'm not as rigid on myself about new clients, meaning it's not a stress of mine, because it's happening and you're branding and you've turned up your branding and that's changing. And obviously you're being more intentional on your referrals. But when you look out like the next 5 years, what is it? Is it more of the same? Is there a different skill set? Does this involve some of their children later on? Like, where are you? What are you thinking for the next, 4 or 5 years?
So let me answer the latter first, because I do think it does involve their children. Though everything sometimes is about timing. So when I started to really get deep into this part of planning, people compensated with equity, it was with a specific company where the trajectory of that stock price and the trajectory of people's wealth was something I've not seen again in the 17 years I've been doing this. It was really amazing. So it is the conversation of, gosh, how am I transferring this to my family? I learned many things. Won't give him too much credit. One of the things I learned when partnering up with the team is they do a really good job about going multi-generational. So it might be the parents that have the wealth, and the rest of the guys on the team do a good job of, let's meet the kids, think about them. Hey, you graduated, who had a baby, right? And I kind of adopted that from the guys on the team, because here I am looking at some of my best clients. Yeah, this wealth's going somewhere. So I think it is the latter. I think I'll look at the next 5 years. There's two things I know about the next 5 years. The data I've collected from clients, I know naturally what's going to occur in the next 5 years. So I can say, well, geez, I should be able to grow by X. If I just put a very conservative growth rate on, I should grow by X. Yep. Where I'd really like to see it get is where it's slowly going. A lot of these pre-public, like pre-IPO pharmaceutical companies, that I think is the next opportunity for me. It's even more complex because it's different when you're a private company versus you're a public company. And it's even more confusing to the employee when it's a private
it's individually owned.
Yeah. And again, once again, not by design, but by default, I had a series of clients during COVID that headed off to these private pharmaceutical companies. So here I find myself again figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching how that's moving. And I think that's next.
It's great
for me.
Well, interesting. My last question, this is just amazing. I'm very intrigued by this whole thing. Is our purpose at Barnum is to positively impact the lives of our clients, our advisors, and our associates. And my personal legacy was to just touch as many advisors as I can and help them grow and help associates grow. And in an industry that is needed more than ever, the generational wealth that's getting transferred is insane right now. There's trillions and trillions of dollars. But we've been at about 300,000 advisors for a long time and shrinking. To your point earlier, I'm just more curious here. Obviously, you have to be a good planner. But to see a good planner and someone that has the skills that you have, is there a lot of competition? Back to what you said earlier, when you push the client away and say, go ask the questions. No. You're asking those questions because there's very few people that have taken the time because they only run into it once in a while where you've just dug in and this is your practice now.
100%.
The team does the rest of your stuff. You still have to keep up on the planning, but
100%. What you'll find in this marketplace too is very rarely are you meeting someone that doesn't already have an advisor. So I would tell you, I'm fairly confident. I'm not worried about competition in it. And more often than not, it's arming them with these few questions. And it's not a matter of, I can get you 1 or 2 more % investment return. That's not what it is. No. It's the advice that they're looking for. I know Eric's the expert. And then the rest of it's just a byproduct that it comes along with it, which makes it easy. And what you said also is helpful for me, because one thing that the team provides to me is everything that I need administratively. I mean, anything operationally is no longer something I have to worry about, that I can just focus on this 100%. The period of time in between experience in one team dynamic and the gap of being a solo producer was hard.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was hard.
You have to do things you don't like doing or you're not skilled at.
Yeah, it was really hard. Now the team's great, right? From Caroline, Haley, and Veronica, from anything operationally I need. I would have never thought about client has a kid. Hey, let's send them something. Right. And then when we have that already, they had that already built that I was able to plug into immediately. It took so much thought off the table for me. To now I can really focus on.
And it's thought that's stuff that you don't love. So you'd rather go off and study this stuff because you love that and it's inspiring to you. And listen, I mean, there's 2 things that I really took away. 1 is you're an expert. 2, you've outsourced all the things you don't like doing to get your green zone. And you've not only realized that the green zone is just not about business. It's about the green zone for life.
100%.
Eric Gerhard, I'm super proud of you, what you've built and what you're building. I can't wait to see where this goes.
It's exciting.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Small steps, big wins. But please listen in. But also, for advisors that are here or in this industry, don't be afraid to reach out to Eric and take an expert out there and learn from him firsthand and make an impact on your clients.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thank you for everything, Paul, over the last 17 years.
You got it. Thank you.
Help.
Thank you very much, Eric. And everybody else, have a great day. Thank you for listening to Small Steps, Big Wins. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions their respective parent companies or affiliates or the companies with which the program participants are affiliated. Investments or strategies mentioned in this program may not be suitable for you, and you should make your own independent decision regarding them. This material does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. You should strongly consider seeking advice from your own investment advisor. Securities and investment advisory services offered through qualified registered representatives of MML Investor Services, LLC. Member SIPC, 6 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484, telephone number 203-513-6000.